McDonald's is breakfast. The McGriddle still holds up after all these years, but the ordering kiosk machine was kind of a nightmare.
We were treated like McDonald's corporate royalty, but the food did taste like science.
They let me have my run of the PlayPlace, but the Chicken Biscuit is one of the driest sandwiches I've ever eaten. We woke up early to beat the 10:30 a.m. cutoff time to eat the most important meal of the day at the most prevalent restaurant in the world. But does popularity equal high quality, or will Mickey D's find itself with the positives and the negatives perfectly balanced on the scale of mediocrity? I put my face on for this, so we're going to give you the skinny on what it's like to eat breakfast in a McDonald's. This is the Fine Dining Podcast.
Your table is ready. Take a seat. The flavor of the day is mediocrity. Wouldn't you like to try a bite? Guarantee it'll be the perfect bite. Fine dining. Better than you thought, worse than you hoped. Fine dining. We don't treat mediocre as a joke. Ranking every single place we've been. Looking for the perfect 5 out of 10.
Hello, and welcome back to the Fine Dining Podcast, the search for the most mediocre restaurant in America. I'm your host, Michael Ornelas, and this is the show where I'm looking for the precisely in the middle dining experience, the perfect 5.00 out of 10, because only once you know what's directly in the center can you tell what's good or not good by comparison. In trying to impress my master, I'm fully Ronald McDonald-ed up, and I dined on McDonald's breakfast with my guest this week. He hosts the clowning podcast, Stand Up and Clown, as well as the live show of the same name, the last Monday of every month at the Elysian Theater in Los Angeles. He's a regular member of Stamptown and is on the road this year teaching and performing clown. He puts the wow in clow, wow, 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 wow. It's Chad Damiani.
So angry.
About what?
Wow.
About what part?
It was going great. It was going great.
I thought it ended strongest.
Oh, wow.
Of all the elements.
Well, clow, wow, wow to that then.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for having me. Well, this is part 2, correct?
This is part 2.
So they know that I don't have to pretend that this is the beginning.
Yeah, you can drop the act. We know you're not a nice guy.
Okay. Oh, thank God.
When you take any clowning classes from him, you will have all of your insecurities just pinpoint focused in on. And
that's what people tell me. They say it's like a really it's an unburdening. That's what people say.
Not how I would phrase. I feel
you're welcome.
Stepped on.
Well, I mean, what you've done to yourself is worse than anything I could ever do to you in class.
This is because of everything you've done to me.
When
in
I
class.
saw you, so I don't know what the order of things is, but I was there a few minutes early.
Yeah,
because it also struck me as very funny, as I knew like how much planning you put into this.
Yeah,
and I was just like, I'm gonna get there early because there's got to be just a part of Michael's brain that's like, what if he doesn't show up? Like, just because there's so much work put into these things.
Yeah.
That I was just like, I want him to see me there when
Sure.
he gets there. But then when I saw you pull up in this,
you're like, I should have not come.
I should have not come. I was like, I had every right. What I was
exit.
reading from his very responsible professional emails was him setting up this very moment of disappointment for me.
It was so rich because like I didn't plan on particularly parking next to you. I didn't know that would be the spot I would pull into. And I look over and I'm like, of course that's Chad. And you just had a look of, yep. Just, yep.
Well, right from the jump, you noticed I was just sick. And I get out of the car and I'm like very much judging you.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I have like a huge wad of phlegm on my shirt because I coughed it up on the way there. So I'm also like, we look like we should be traveling together.
But you don't know it.
I don't know it. So like
you have the confidence of a guy who didn't loogie on himself.
Yeah, who didn't have like what was probably a tablespoon of dark phlegm on his turtleneck.
I thought it was a bit. I don't know what
when I
the bit
saw it,
was.
I was like, I couldn't even believe that I didn't know it was there. Yeah. I tried to spit it out the window on the way, and I was on the phone with my parents. I think I was trying to do it quietly, and I probably just flew right back onto my shirt. I had no idea.
Oh, so you do think it made it out the window, and it wasn't just your aim is terrible?
I don't think it necessarily made it out the window.
Okay.
I think it, but I think I was trying to do it quiet because I'm telling them, because I was sick a week ago.
Yeah. So
I've been telling them how much better I am. So I think I didn't want to sound
you're like, I don't want to sound like I'm not better, so I'm going to hide this loogie.
I'm going to this very like light sound. And so then I was like, I think that brought us back to center. When you pointed that out, I'm like, all right, we've all made choices that we regret.
It's funny because when you talk about clowning and how you will berate us to assert the status difference so that people get sympathetic to us.
Yes.
You took all of that status away with that loogie.
Oh, for sure. If I'd ever done one of my shows and came out with a phlegm loogie on my show, I would be like, everyone go home.
The moment I saw you, I was just like, oh, we're peers.
Yeah. I've definitely was all I would rather have been the emperor with no clothes than the emperor with phlegm on clothes.
Yeah.
But I was saying, so that moment happens. And then as soon as we turn around, immediately we are accosted politely.
Yes.
By someone who loves what Michael's done.
Yes.
Loves it. And not an employee, just someone there. And I'm taking their phone. I'm snapping photos.
Before you go into this detail, I'm just going to throw us to, because this totally qualifies, we're going to talk about all the things that are good. So play the jingle for all the good things that happened in this McDonald's.
This is the good, done like it should be. The stuff that's finger licking or sticking the landing. This is the good, I knew that you could. This is the good.
Okay, I would say this is firmly a positive experience for both of us.
One of my top experiences.
So until I indicate otherwise, we're only talking about the things we liked.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And so this guy keeps saying to you, why aren't you here when my kids are here?
Like I'm a deadbeat dad.
Yeah. Like it was kind of like he was definitely wanted, like he was being positive, but also a little accusatory.
Yeah.
He's like, I can bring my kids here all the time. And why aren't you here?
Why are you here now?
Like
why
you're
are you
Santa.
here when they're in school?
And I mean, again,
it is a Friday at 9:45 is when we met up in the morning.
For those of you who are only interested in the pod component, you have to see how badly this makeup looks.
I don't know what you're talking about, other than the fact that I didn't use a professional makeup artist. I just had a friend do it.
We can run it from head to toe. I mean, one
in the good. That is in the category we're talking about. You like how
this
bad
was
this
the summer that Ronald got a perm. I guess Ronald was feeling a little he'd just seen Annie. So I mean, the hair doesn't match. No powder, just white makeup. And also I could just see that your friend who helped you, who did a good job with the eyebrows, but also probably struggled to maybe outline your eyes. Like you didn't like that part where the black, cause like you look terrifying. And the outfit, I don't even know how to describe.
Look, I got this on Amazon. It was like $50.
I know,
but it is brimming.
Yeah, it's just not. It's not even.
Look at that.
It's not even you. It's just. It's like a sleeve, like a Pringles sleeve. Like I would rip that thing into bits.
I am stuck in this.
Yeah, you are done for sure. This is your week.
I have popped and I cannot stop.
But yeah, that guy was amazing. I ended up taking a bunch of pictures with you, and that changed. I didn't. What I expected
was to be asked to leave.
To be asked to leave, or to sort of there to be a general sense of them being hostile, but not throwing us out, but them being like, come on, we're at work.
Come with your influencer stunts.
And boy, could we have not been more wrong.
Yeah.
They, right off the bat, as soon as we come in, another table says, we want to get photos.
Dibs.
I will say that table was funny too, because then you went over and I heard the woman go, we don't want to get up. Which I thought was so funny to say.
Because I'm doing them a favor.
Exactly. Like
taking
they
a
asked
photo
you
with them.
You didn't go over and say, do you want a photo? They said, we want photos. You go over kindly. And then this woman immediately is just almost like with a hand out goes, we don't want to get up. I was like, but in a way, like that was the best thing. That made me laugh.
By the way, it's kind of like my parents a little bit, to where like my dad will always say the rude thing, and then the rest of the family is like walking it back to the person.
Yeah.
The amount of like valets that I have had to apologize to after we roll up with my dad, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, he just doesn't know how to talk to people.
Yeah.
And like I'm always trying to smooth things over, because like the man that was with the group was basically like, oh no, like I'll take the picture of y'all, you don't have to get up, or like he was trying to make it like both okay for me and for her.
Yeah, she was definitely running stuff.
Yeah.
But
he was the smoother, like I have to be with my father.
And I was going to the bathroom, so I didn't catch a bunch of that stuff, but like already I was like, this is so fun. And then when I came back, the employees
are asking for photos. They're thanking me for coming in.
Oh, that was the great when they were like, thank you for coming. And then you said to me, you go,
I think they think I'm from corporate.
And I think they have no communication with management or corporate in any meaningful way, that they just, when Ronald McDonald comes in, the boss is here.
It really, but
that's
like
so crazy.
But like,
listen to like, that's like, such a crazy concept.
But it's like, it's to the point where
and this look too, like this.
Do I not answer to anyone? Am I carte blanche as soon as I step in
there? I
there?
said to you, I was like, you should go back in the kitchen. Just start asking questions.
You said I probably could get away with it. No question.
Yeah. Just saying like, oh yeah, and how everything's working. And they'd be like, yes, sir. Yeah. They were so nice.
They were very
so
pleasant.
Sweet.
It's weird. Well, it's not weird. But like, so I've dressed up crazy 3 times for the podcast. I went as Shrek to the original Pancake house and had Shrekfest, and employees were like fighting over who got to serve me.
That's so cool.
And like they sit me down, and like my server comes over, she's like, I got the celebrity, and I was like, you know, Shrek isn't real, right? What? And then there was like a table of like 5 like kind of like tough looking guys, like biker vibes, that were like, hey, can you come over and like just take a picture with us and stuff, which is amazing. And then another time I went as Freddy Krueger to Wing Street. I did Nightmare on Wing Street for my Halloween episode last year. And I, knowing how crazy Freddy Krueger was going to look, went the night before in normal clothes to just like tell a manager like, hey, can you give your employees tomorrow a heads up that someone looking like Freddy Krueger is coming in tomorrow, and I'm not there to make a nuisance. I'm just ordering food and eating, and that's it. And the employees had fun with me. Some kids came in from the Popeyes across the parking lot because they noticed me, and they were like threatening to kill me in my dreams. They just like opened the door like, hey, Freddy, I'm going to kill you in your dreams.
But in a fun way.
I don't know.
You're still processing that one.
Yeah. I thought I was
They're like,
die.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, what?
But like, I've gotten no negativity. It's not like, I think it's taken me now 3 times to realize this just brings joy.
Yeah, but also you're going out there to be fun, because certainly
I'm not there to make a scene. I'm not there to make any employee's lives difficult.
Right. And I mean, I could imagine someone coming in dressed like this also like would wrestle, grimace, and knock over tables.
Right.
Like,
but you didn't want to dress up in purple. So
I think I helped a little bit today, because I think once we clean my shirt off,
you look like a theater tech producer.
Yeah, I look like, well, this is a serious person you're with.
Yeah.
So this is supposed to be something.
Yeah.
But they were so sweet, and like I took a bunch of pictures of you with a bunch of the employees, and like they were all these like sweet older ladies who I don't know, they just had great energy, and like it was just such an easy and very clean, because I don't know much of like McDonald's or what to expect. I was like, very clean, well kept. Everyone was nice inside. The people who worked there, they all seemed to like each other, and they were like kind of just getting like. I was just like, there was much more comfortable.
There was no inter-workplace drama that we were picking up vibes of.
The last time I was in a McDonald's that I remember was when UCB Sunset was open,
still around,
and they had this really pretty awful McDonald's across the street, and I went in there. I was just desperate and hungry, and you know, McDonald's can hit. Like when you're really hungry, boy, like at least initially, and then maybe later, just sadness and despair. But an unhoused guy came in, and he was just filling endless cups of ketchup And he got to about 12.
I was going to say, what's endless? 12 is a crazy amount.
And finally, there was this major confrontation. And it was just so disheartening. And like, it was just like, I'm like, I feel bad for everybody. I feel bad for this man. I feel bad for this employee. I feel bad for all of us.
Yes.
To witness this. And so to be in one where it was like, oh, all these people like are enjoying their day.
Yeah.
And it was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's something else you enjoyed?
That those hash browns are as good as I remember.
I feel like they took a step down. I don't think they were like bad, but I thought they took a step down. But yeah, the floor is yours to rave about them if you're still.
I haven't had one in a long time. And that's like my favorite type of hash brown is just that sort of like
the patty
playing
almost.
card. Yeah. The patty playing
card. Yeah. Yeah.
I always, as a kid, I remember kind of like, I remember like liking to holding it in its sleeve, in its paper sleeve and just kind of nibbling on it. Like
a Pez dispenser.
Yeah.
You're kind of like just pushing it from the device. And that's how I would eat the McDonald's apple pies.
Oh,
because they'd be like scalding and like the cinnamon is like, it gets on your fingers and I don't want that.
Yeah. And then because that's distracting. Right. So like the things that are always good about that thing, I thought were good, which is, you know, it has that pillowy inside and then like a not an over crunch. Cause I think that's a thing that happens a lot now is sometimes when things are crunchy, it's like so absurdly crunchy.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, you just want to feel that you have to break through something and then it has a texture and then you get to the pillowy inside and, yeah, with a little ketchup, I was like, I would still absolutely, I probably eat several of these. Like, I thought it was good.
Yeah.
I thought it was good.
Can you score that out of 10?
I would give, and when you say this, just to remind me, when you're saying scoring out of 10 of all hash browns ever,
of all food you've ever had, where does this fall?
That would probably be a 5.31.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
like not like I've had
a little above average.
Yeah, but like it's just like, oh, solid. I mean, I guess I think, you know, it's so interesting when you talk about like a spectrum of 0 to 10, because 0 is vomit.
Yeah.
Right. And then 10 is, I don't know, miso baked cod from Nobu. Like it's like this thing where you're like, I can't afford, I would eat this every day, but I can only afford it every 10 years kind of situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it definitely falls to me like, boy, this is really solid. It's not the best potato I could get, but boy, like this is something I can rely on.
For me, the best bit of food that I had was the sausage McGriddle. I mean, to me, it's a shameless food item. It's the bread is pancakes. And that's just culinarily an abomination. It should not exist. It should not have happened. But since it did, let's embrace it. And it's got a flavor that, you know, you get the little like syrup soaked flavor of the bun. Mm-hmm. You put some strawberry jam on it. I think that's the...
So you like even more, you have to add a little more sweet.
I think it's less that I want more sweet and more that I think the fruitness of it adds an interesting dynamic to the flavor.
Okay.
So you know, if it was a more tart fruit, I'd be fine with that too. But yeah, I mean, for the sausage McGriddle, I'm going 7 out of 10.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Maybe I've underscored my hash brown a little bit.
Yeah. Here, I'll put it in different terms for you. 4 to 6 is the spectrum of average to me.
Okay.
6 to 7.5 is something you'd call good. 7.5 to 8.5 you'd call great. 8.5 to like 9.5 you'd call excellent, and like 9.5 and above is like, this is some of the best things I've ever had in my life.
So I'll go back on that hash brown and give it about a 7.21.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I was like, really, like I am enjoying this.
Okay.
I think it's interesting. The McGriddle has like huge diminishing returns for me. That first bite feels like they've cracked a code. Like when you get that first bite and then you get, especially with the sausage specifically, because I don't think the bacon, it's the same effect. But when you get the sausage, the egg, and the sweet together, by the third bite, I'm like I'm starting to sort of feel how it's manipulating my taste buds a little bit in a way that I'm not usually so present with like thinking about food.
Yeah.
But I didn't really enjoy like, because you had one without cheese.
Correct.
And I had one with.
And yours also had egg. Mine didn't have egg.
You didn't have egg either. So I really like that first bite was like, I was like, we're in business, you know, like I was like, and then
yours sounds like too many things. I think simplicity, when you have something as already creative as like, because the McGriddle bun in and of itself is the creation of it. So I think just like one protein is enough.
Yeah.
I don't think it needs much more.
And I'm kind of like trained. It's funny. I actually like manufactured what is my favorite order there, which I didn't do today because I was like, I just want to try stuff, which is the bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to me, the biscuit on its own doesn't stand up to almost any of the biscuits that you can find like at Popeyes or KFC or Church's. But the biscuit in relation to breakfast for McDonald's, I think, is a really solid foundational part of a sandwich for them. I'm like, really works. And I kind of manufactured a little bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit because I also had a deluxe breakfast.
Right, which comes with the English muffin, right?
But then I used I used some of my biscuit I had a chicken and biscuit.
Mm-hmm.
And I just put that all together, and I was like, if I had ordered this would have this probably would have gotten into the 7.5s.
Okay.
Like, I was like, this is like this and a hash brown and a Diet Coke on the road.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, I can drive for another 5 hours. I didn't order that. But I will say also in this category of things that I would give positive reviews for, and it's a tough one because it's not all positive, is the chicken biscuit, which I know is not one of your favorites.
We are different on that. Yeah.
It's just a lot of nostalgia for me. And I understand that. So
from McDonald's?
Yeah, because
did they always have the chicken?
They used to have a chicken sandwich. Like, I was kind of telling you.
I'm talking the breakfast.
No.
Okay.
It's whatever this patty they use for the chicken
was like the classic taste.
Was the old
McDonald's.
Classic taste of like what I remember a chicken sandwich being. I'm talking like 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's because what I was expecting a little bit was almost what they used in their, what I imagine they use in that chicken Big Mac, just from watching videos, which is more that tempura style chicken nugget kind of pat, like a larger chicken nugget. That's not the chicken biscuit. Like, whatever that thing is, that's another thing. And I think I was like, as soon as I bit it, I'm like, this is what chicken.
So because it hit a nostalgic note, it's going to get that bump.
It got that bump. But then just to your point, eventually I broke it, like didn't eat it, took the biscuit, like, you know what I mean? Like, so I had 2 bites where
scavenging.
I scavenged it into another thing. But that first bite was, and I think that's McDonald's probably 70% of its appeal.
This tastes history. Like a thing I've had before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think if there was anything else in terms of food.
That was good?
Yeah.
No.
I can't think of anything.
But I do got to say, going into that play space.
That was pretty fun.
So I just went in because
there was a guy. So we should mention there was a guy in there who looked like he was being very serious about something. And there was discussion of like, is he with a child that we don't see?
That he's clearly not watching.
That he's clearly not watching, and is bringing this adult this scare clown. And so I was pretty like, we really did debate it because it was like, there's a good chance there's a child being unsafe in this space. And that's why he's so.
Which I would have exited immediately.
But we go in and it's completely fine.
Yeah.
And then, so then you decide to go through this thing.
Yes. And immediately I realize I can go up some steps, which feels cumbersome because, like we said, I am like a Pringles can. I am bursting out of my...
It's tight and it's like oddly shaped. Like there's just things pulling at places that shouldn't.
Look, it's accentuating all of my insecurities. And so I'm like, okay, I can take stairs is a generous word, but I can ascend, or I can, test the waters, go to the right. And they have those... I always find it funny, the like types of things that they like gamify for children are kind of like labor jobs, and this one was like turn a valve, like so there's just like this circular rotating thing on the ceiling that kind of looks like a valve that you would like if you want to make a fire hydrant spurt water or whatever. And I'm just like going in circles, and I'm just like, I guess I'll just do this for a while because it's kind of silly. And then I was like, all right, I'm done with this.
Really? Yeah. There was no end game.
Yeah. It was just, okay, I've done a few circles now, done. And I go back, I start going up, and I go up to one level, and there's a slide, but the slide goes up. And I was like, what is this? How is this?
Yeah.
they have a slide that's like a curlicue that goes from the highest layer of the play space to the middle area of the play place. And to me, at my weight, I'm not getting in that slide. I'm not chancing that.
Now, was there a way to get up to the top part and slide down, or you have to?
Yes. I just stopped short of it because I was like, I'm knowing that I'm like elevated and the end game isn't the ground. I didn't feel comfortable.
It felt like there was,
because that plastic piece could dislodge with my weight and just plummet. I don't think it would, but
it should be mentioned too. You went up 2 flights of stairs, were pretty firmly out of breath.
It's mostly this suit.
I'm not making an accusation. You're acting like I'm accusing you of something.
Oh,
I'm documenting.
I was making it known to you as well. I was verbalizing.
I could hear it holding the camera. And that was, and
it sounded like Patty and Selma.
It
from
really
The
did.
Simpsons.
And it was sort of like to watch Ronald, or this Ronald type ghoul, slightly wheezing as he sort of navigated this thing that he didn't fit into. It was really interesting. I would call that a positive for sure.
There were some Winnie the Pooh vibes there for sure.
Yeah.
And then I get to the top level, and I see that slide, and I have no idea what the end game of this contraption is, but they have what looks like a big ring, but it's kind of got like square edges with like an elliptical circle through the middle of it, and then like elastic on all sides. So it's like, I think you like sit in the middle of it, and then you can kind of be like jostled around maybe. I don't know. It looked like a saw trap almost.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely, as you started to go through it, it didn't seem like a place where people would have any fun.
Yeah.
It looked more fun from a distance.
Yeah. That's accurate. I didn't,
but it was fun watching you navigate. Like that, it was a positive experience.
Yes. And then on my way back down, I noticed written in like white, almost like whiteout, graffitied above like the back part of the first level steps. It just says F the rules. Which sounds like something a 4th grader did to be edgy.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like an 18-year-old went in there and was like...
spray paint, you think?
It looked like whiteout.
Whiteout.
It was like, or like a white jelly pen or something.
Interesting.
And it had like good handwriting. It was almost like comic booky.
So not totally F the rules. I mean...
They stayed within the lines.
Let's stay within the lines.
But of all the things, F the rules. I was like, that's silly.
I will say, watching the guy who was in there.
Did you talk to him at all?
I didn't talk to him at all. He was very much into whatever was happening on his phone.
Yeah. He
He would look up once in a while to see what was happening, but did not seem annoyed by us.
Yeah.
But also did not seem to care.
How could he
Yeah.
be? We were fine.
He would just want to have it to himself. But he actually was like, I don't give a shit
Yeah.
as long as I can look at my phone.
Yeah. You speculated maybe he just wanted like that outdoor sunlight, and that may have been what it was.
Yeah. I mean, once I was out there, I was like, oh, I think we should have eaten out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely nicer.
But I did have their diet lemonade.
Uh-huh.
And it was also nostalgically like, oh, this is what my parents
Yeah.
still drink. This sort of like powdered weird thing that is kind of sour, but really just tastes like if a battery and a lemon had a baby. But I actually I was like, oh, and I will say now,
scratched an itch.
It scratched an itch. And I'll say, as maybe my final positive, I don't feel sick.
That doesn't feel like a positive.
Well, in this
I do have a segment for what's just there. And to me,
you think I don't feel sick?
I'm not feeling sick is the epitome of
I'm
just
glad
there.
your life is so fucking good that waking up feeling healthy is something you take for granted.
You didn't say you don't feel healthy.
This is why you failed as a clown in class? This is why you're failing as an entertainer? No, this is just showing the sweetness I bring to a class environment.
But again, he's hitting on truths. So, all right. Well, that's everything that's good. Now we can dunk on McDonald's. Let's talk about everything that was not good.
This is not so good. I'm not quite sure about it. Could have done without it. The stuff that brings down the mood. This is just not very good.
This chicken biscuit sucked to me.
Ultimately, it was terrible.
It was so dry. like, I know you said it was reminiscent of a quality of chicken, but to me, that quality is low quality.
Oh, for sure. This is something they have worked out. I thought they had moved past.
Yeah.
But
this is like casting Kevin Spacey in a movie in 2025 where it's just like, oh, I just thought we were done with that.
As a gym teacher.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like, I thought we all agreed this is behind us.
I was, like I said, when I had that first bite, I did have that immediately like, oh, it's like when I have a drumstick, those ice cream drumsticks, if I see one once in a while, I'll have one and I'll be like, oh my God, and it's like the second bite, it's like, oh, this is just a chemical nightmare. I was surprised that they didn't have like a better version of chicken in there.
Yeah.
Because I think the biscuit is, like I said, it's a delivery system that works for them. It is not something I'd ever order on its own. It's very dry.
It's so skinny.
It's so
like
skinny.
The chicken patty itself, it's just like, this is a lot of not meat.
Yeah.
This is a lot of fried, not chicken.
Yeah, it has that sort of, I won't call it rubbery because it
wasn't, texture didn't bother me.
But it does kind of tear away in a way that doesn't feel like it's together. It's like particle board. You know, like it's already been chewed for you.
It's what Shockmaster fell through.
Yeah.
Literally that.
It was bad.
So I went 3 out of 10 on that. I ended up putting ketchup on it, and that helped it a little bit, but it was still pretty dry with that. But I was kind of able to emulate like a chicken sandwich.
I'd probably give it a 4.25 only because that first bite was good.
Yeah.
I'd actually, if I had something that I was going to really rain shit upon, it was the Egg McMuffin.
Okay.
I just felt like, in a way, when I first bit it, like what I wanted to think was like, oh, this was a time for a lighter, easier breakfast. And there was like a second because I bit it after a McGriddle bite where I was like, this is kind of a relief because the McGriddle is so intense.
Yes.
But then as I started to like chew it, I was like, this egg is unseasoned.
Yeah.
This ham is like uninspired. Like it's literally just the most processed piece of like flimsy ham.
Yeah.
And
Canadian bacon, technically.
Which
is ham.
Yeah. And I also say that there's just no love in the English muffins anymore.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's barely toasted. It like I can remember like loving English muffins as a kid.
I love them now, but I buy them and make them at home. Getting them from McDonald's is not going to do them justice.
Yeah, there's just like they were barely toasted.
Yeah.
I mean, barely. And like for an English muffin, like
that's its whole thing.
Its whole thing.
Yeah.
That's like taking away its whole thing. And I was just like, this is such a nothing burger. This like it's not doing any damage.
Yeah.
But it's so like just underwhelming.
Do you have a score for it?
Yeah, that I would go I'll go with a 2.43.
2.43. Okay. Yeah. The only other thing that I have is like a negative with a bullet, but it was funny to me because the only thing that I have status on with you is youth. And so to see you struggle with the
kiosk,
the electronic
really
ordering kiosk, just getting past the first thing.
To be fair, the first one I went to was...
No.
It wasn't broken.
No. There was a button that said, so it's like...
The buttons were confusing.
Proceed, and then it's like skip logging in. I guess you can log in. Like if you're a McDonald's regular, you can have a login.
That's sad.
And you just stared at the skip login button and was like, I don't know what to do.
Well, but also it should be like skip logging in. It's like...
I agree. It's a crazy option.
Well, it's something that they've designed clearly because they want you to be like asking the question, what's a login? As opposed to just being like guest.
Yeah.
Like that's what a normal thing would be like. Guest,
proceed as guest. Yeah.
Or VI or like VIP pass card or whatever they call it. But like to say skip like that's such a weird reverse way.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I did struggle mightily with it.
I always find it funny looking at a person looking at one of those things and going like, what is this?
But it also makes me laugh because McDonald's really does cover a spectrum, and like I just imagine there's a whole massive part of their like long base that's just like, what are these wizard screens, you know?
Well, and 3 times. One, I mean, we ordered a lot of food. 3 times employees came over and were like, do you need help with
I
this?
think they also wanted to talk to Ronald.
I do think they wanted to talk to Ronald. But like, they're used to this. They know people need help. They are like, at some point, it's just like, well, can we ditch the kiosks and order from the register again? Because if you need to come over and help, what are we really saving?
Right. And you know, it's funny because there's things like when you go to a grocery store, how self-checkout has been amazing, right? Like when you go to, like, you can go in and you can just take care of it on your own. But that is all done very intuitively. But recently, and it's a very similar problem that this kiosk has, which is that they want you on the app. They want you on the app. They want you thinking on screen. They want you ordering on screens. Is now they, especially like places like Ralph's, they have stuff that if you have a membership that you get a discount, but then there's a digital coupon. So sometimes you'll grab something and then you'll go in and they'll be like, no, you have to now scan the coupon on your phone. And
they all want to scrape and sell your data. That's what it is.
It's just
sign up for our app so that we can sell your data and your purchasing patterns to advertising companies.
Yeah. And
that's all it is. And
so
every single one does it and they incentivize it. It's also why I never make donations when it's like, do you want to round up to the nearest dollar to support this? The only reason the stores are doing that is because it becomes the entire amount of money you spend on the order plus that donation is a charitable write-off now. So they
for them.
So it's a tax write-off for them. They don't care about the charity.
No, they're just trying not to pay as few taxes as possible.
But it bothers me that we're taking away the human element of ordering and of interacting and you know, I get it. A sit-down chain restaurant is going to be a different experience from a fast food, but I like the person-to-person interaction anywhere because I like to be able to ask clarifying questions. Yeah. I like just the warmth of hey, how's it going? And maybe I can make a stupid joke that makes the monotony of their day feel less so.
Also, I would have liked to have interacted more with those employees. They were all very sweet.
Yeah.
Like I would have liked that place especially. Yeah. I would have been like, oh, this is nice.
Yeah. Do you know Dave's Hot Chicken?
Yeah, of course.
I tried to call there the other night to like place a phone order, and their automated message is just 100% like, why are you calling? It's like, if you really want to place an order, the best place to do that is on the app. If you still want to talk to an employee, just know our kitchens are pretty busy and they may not answer. Yeah. Like they're making the excuses for them and kind of encouraging. And then, of course, after like a 2-minute menu, it finally goes to 1 ring and it's picked up and hung up immediately. And I'm just like,
right. They don't want to bother with it.
I just want to ask, hey, are you guys still open? Because Google shows that you are, but Yelp shows that you're not.
Like that's the thing too. Like this sort of, it's always like, it's more efficient. It's like, but it's not, because what it is it's streamlining, but streamlining isn't.
Oh, you mean the automation is efficient?
Yeah, the automation is efficient. It's like, no, it's actually like narrowing the amount of information we can get. Things are moving faster.
Yeah.
But you're also like losing all these little services on the sides. Yeah.
Yeah. And for like something that's like, hey, I have a 10-second question and you can give a 2-second answer. Why am I spending 5 minutes on the phone?
Why am I hitting like 9 prompt buttons?
Yeah. It bothers me. Anyways, that's a tangent. That wasn't the case with this McDonald's.
0.04 for that McDonald's.
Yeah. But as far as not good goes...
Oh, you didn't get to try the breakfast because I made a big mess of it. You should mention that. Because I got so disgusted with it.
What was it called? The like
I got the deluxe breakfast.
The deluxe breakfast. That's the one that comes with pancakes, eggs,
sausage,
English
bacon,
muffin.
English muffin. You didn't get to try that because what happened was I tried a little of it and was very dissatisfied.
And threw trash on it.
And threw like did that thing you do
in its cardboard container.
Entombed it. Sent it to its grave. And then you wanted to try it, and it was
like,
really,
oh, is there still a pancake in there? And you're like, oh yeah.
And then I took the top off, and it was like, might as well have been cigarette butts.
It literally felt like the loogie on your shirt all over again.
But that was I did use the eggs and the sausage to build that like fake
breakfast sandwich.
But God, I remember those pancakes being much better.
Yeah.
I guess I've just had a bunch of pancakes since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And they were science. Like these pancakes were like, there's nothing in here but just like pancake flavor.
Right.
And their syrup too. Same thing. It's like, this is sweet enough to be syrup. Like, Daddy, am I sweet enough? Am I syrup yet? That would probably be like a 2-1-4. Like, it's just not.
Yeah.
And because I remember too thinking what I would always do is pancake, a little bit of egg, a little bit of sausage, and then you just put a little syrup in it and you make a little pancake taco.
You make a McGriddle before the McGriddle.
Pre-McGriddle.
Yeah.
And now like the McGriddle was so much better than my pre-McGriddle.
Yeah.
But I will say the egg, if I was going to give it credit for anything, the eggs are their eggs are pretty good. Like when I
didn't have them. I mean, I had them in one of the sandwiches.
But then I made that trash fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Let's talk about the atmosphere of the place. I mean, I know we've kind of vaguely clean bathroom. They had a PlayPlace, and people were kind of like psyched to see Ronald, and that's part of it. But as far as like the decor, this is a very the only thing I noticed that like really stood out as quote unquote decoration was a map of South America that was like McCafe, and it showed where like all the beans came from.
I didn't even see that.
Yeah, it was like kind of in an area of the store we didn't really go to, but it was visible if you kind of look toward the front. But there was like nothing on the walls.
Nothing.
To make this place homey. It's very clear that they're like, we don't really want you to stay here. We want you to take the food and go.
That's what they've realized.
Yeah.
Is that and I think this is fast food chains almost in general.
Right.
Everything's been done to be like, we don't want you sitting in these chairs too long. We don't want you hanging out and using our Wi-Fi too long.
Yeah.
We're not trying to compete with Starbucks.
Yeah. Get your food.
Get going. And it'll be clean here. We'll be nice to you. But there's more money when more people are coming in, not when people are staying.
So for that, despite the positive attention that I also chalk up to the atmosphere of this experience, I am going to give the atmosphere 1 thumb down. Not 2. Not going to be the worst. But
yeah. I would say
it was disheartening.
Because obviously, I mean, who knows if you'll ever get this outfit off? Honestly, it is. You are sewn into that thing.
I wonder if I can.
You should definitely try to Hulk out of it.
but just with like breathing heavily. I don't want to actually pull on it. Yeah, and it's weird. I only have one food item that I call not good, but I'm still going to give 1 thumb down overall to the food. Just like as a blanket statement, the food at McDonald's, it's not even average. It is less than average to me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a fast food person, but that's my feeling was the same way so I haven't had this in years, and there was no part of me that's like,
I need to go back.
Well, this will be a tradition now.
Yeah.
Like there are definitely, usually I stay in LA for the holidays because flying back to Jersey is really difficult. And I still go to Sharky's all the time and get nachos on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Because I had an experience once, like I don't really go, but I was like, that was so fun. And those nachos tasted great. But this was one of those things where I was like, well, I haven't really been missing anything.
You're like, I'm not going to make a tradition of eating with Michael.
Yeah. Or Michael dresses garishly. I throw up on myself.
Whatever the mascot of the place is, I'm going to dress up as. Yeah.
Though that Hooters trip, I'm still into that.
Or something where I can go as the original Hamburglar.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ.
All right. As far as the negative goes, though, that is everything. Most of the stuff is going to be in this last category, pretty middling, in my opinion. So let's play the jingle for all the stuff that was just there.
This is a weird one. I'm not quite sure what to say about it. Yeah. This is for the stuff that is just there.
Yeah, this is a lot of it. So hash browns for me, I know you liked them. To me, they were like a 5.5 out of 10. They were fine.
I thought they were good. Was it the best one I've ever had? I still think the formula works.
My memory of it made me expect better. Like to me, other like past versions of this hash brown hit harder for me, but for you, it did live up to that expectation.
Oh, this is what I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe it's just a store-to-store quality thing or whatever. It still wasn't bad. It was just there. The Egg McMuffin, while you thought it was not good, I thought it was the epitome of just like, oh, this is there. This is fine. This is average. So I had it at a perfect 5 out of 10 for the Egg McMuffin. I think it's just Canadian bacon is such an uninspired meat that it's just like, yeah, you throw Canadian bacon on anything and yeah, it's okay.
maybe with cheese, I would have felt differently. But I think in general, just like the English muffin for me was what really sunk it.
Yeah. They did forget one of our items. We got 2 McGriddles. I got one that didn't have cheese. You got one that had egg and cheese. They forgot yours. I went up. They fixed it quickly. There was no hassle. There was no like, prove it to me. Show me the receipt. There's no attitude, anything like that. So to me, little service mishap, but it is just there. It's not bad, anything like that. Yeah, I mean, this whole experience was overwhelmingly, it was like a fever dream of mediocrity is kind of the way I would advertise what this meal was, where it was all very mediocre. Nothing bad happened, but also, I mean, just putting myself through waking up extra early to have my face painted like Ronald McDonald, squeezing myself into a costume that does not fit me. I look like Raggedy Ann. I know I saw the looks of all the other drivers on the road on the commute to and from. And
not as excited as the people at the McDonald's.
There was an unhoused guy standing outside of the Burbank Library that just saw me. He was walking and he just stopped and stared and like may as well have pointed. It was like that direct of like I am looking at you right now. And I felt judged.
How dare they?
How dare they? But I did like being in the restaurant as far as like the attention and all that. And the other patrons were nice. So, I mean, I don't have, there really isn't that much to talk about with this restaurant. As far as like everything that was just there, I'd say the service team, I'll even go as far as to give them 1 thumb up.
I give them a thumb up for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like at any point that they were, like if we needed anything, I think we'd have been fine. They checked on us at the kiosk.
I feel like I could have called in some favors.
I think you could have got some free stuff.
I had authority.
Yeah.
In that moment.
We could definitely got some desserts if we wanted.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, is there anything else you can think of to talk about?
Not really. I mean, to me, the experience of the food, like it was like good for laughs just because of this sort of idea of like, again, we can talk conceptually about the idea of Ronald McDonald showing up and everyone being like, oh, Ronald's here. Like, but that just makes me laugh so hard that just the idea that the mascot can show up and everyone's like, I guess the boss is here.
Taking charge.
And, you know, just making a random visit. This is what he must do.
It's just,
that's so funny to me.
I also think it must have been confounding to them that I was like in and out in 35 minutes. Like, this wasn't like I did a shift there.
Well, also, it was like you were there and we did do some filming eventually.
In the play space.
PlayPlace. But we weren't like making a big show of like, I'm Ronald. Like we were just like, we're just going to order.
Yeah.
We're going to eat our food. And I think that gave us legitimacy.
I do think if this was a bigger McDonald's, if this was like a Times Square McDonald's, I probably would have,
because they've got a line to corporate.
I would have milked it a little bit more.
Oh, I thought they would have kicked you out. I think if it was Times Square.
Oh, that's very possible.
Times Square, I think you'd have pepper sprayed and thrown to the ground. I think in Burbank that
very
they're
possible.
like, oh, this is something special for them.
Yeah, but I would have been like, I'll get your badge number, not to the cops, but to like the employees.
Oh,
like,
sure.
Like,
while the cops are pinning
turn in your gun and your badge. You're fired from this McDonald's. Yeah. Okay, well, we have to score this whole thing, but Chad, it's your first time here on the Fine Dining Podcast. You haven't gone to the almost 100 restaurants that I have, so we need to calibrate your scale. We're going to stop real quickly at the Calibration Station.
Calibration Station, comparing this meal to the best of the worst. Calibration Station, chugga, choo-choo.
Okay, Chad, the Calibration Station is where we define both ends of your spectrum, the worst restaurant experience you've ever had, the best restaurant experience you've ever had, so that McDonald's can fall somewhere in between. Tell me about them.
Well, my best experience when it came to, I would say experience, by the way, is an important word.
Yes.
Because I think as time passes, how food tastes and like how food tasted that day, sort of kind of just fleeting. And the best time I ever had at a restaurant was when I was, I think, 7 or 8 years old, and my family went down to Disney World.
Mm-hmm.
And we were staying at one of the hotels within the park that you could take the monorail to, so you didn't even have to drive. You were just part of it. And one of the mornings we were there, we took the monorail to the fanciest of these hotels. And it was the first time I ever had a breakfast buffet.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like it was like magical.
Yeah.
And I can just remember walking in and just seeing like I could eat, as a little fat kid, I could eat as much as I wanted from any single place.
I used to literally, every time we'd go to like a breakfast brunch or a buffet or something, just a full plate of bacon.
Oh, just because you could.
Because I could, and because
Yeah.
I loved bacon. Like, I'm talking 9-10 pieces.
For me, there was two things that always stood out, which is you could get an Eggs Benedict. And you could get like as many as you want. Like, 'cause, you go to a restaurant, you get 2, but there you could have 6.
Yeah.
But this particular day, everything was good, by the way. And, say what you want about Disneyland or Disney World. I mean, they do know how to like kind of pull you in. That was a place where I had deep fried French toast at this buffet.
Deep fried French toast sounds so
and it was
good.
It was like my meal, but it was the dessert. And I just remember being like, it can't get better than this. This same trip, by the way, I also had fried shrimp for the first time, and also was like
mind blown.
In fact, my parents were like, where are the tails? I just ate everything. I was just like, they're so good. They're so, but that was the best experience. And then, I've had so many lousy meals, and,
to me, service tends to be the thing that really puts something into the really bad.
And that's exactly what came to mind. I live in Studio City.
Yeah.
And when I moved there, it was already a very stressful time because I'd just been widowed, right? Not to bring things down. And I was like, I got to find a place. I've got to start over, this and that. And I found this neighborhood. And one of the things that really caught my eye was there was this diner called Twain's.
Mm-hmm.
And it had been there
what
forever.
Year was this?
This is maybe 15 years ago.
Okay.
And one of the things that stood out, it was on like the corner of Ventura and Coldwater, is there was a sign and it spun.
Yeah.
Like old school, like they'd spent money, and it said Twain's. And as soon as I saw it, I'm like, oh my God, this is like a real deal old school
like
diner.
The vibes of a place.
I love diners
of the past.
And so I obviously wasn't the only reason I moved there. There was a bunch of stuff, but in my mind, I'm like, God, it would be cool to find something in this neighborhood. And then the place I did move was there.
Yeah.
And I started walking my dog, and people would be like, I'd be talking to people, and some people would say to me like, oh, you know what you got to do? You got to go to breakfast at Twain's. And every time someone would say it, I'd get so excited. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to write there. Like, around 9 a.m, go there, hang out for a couple hours.
Yeah.
Well, about 2 months into staying there, I finally go, and I walk in, and it's like a scene from some movie where there's like 6 or 7 people strewn about, but everyone's just kind of sitting there. No one's got any food in front of them. And I'm like, oh, what's going on here? And I go sit at the counter. No one talks to me for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is like a horror movie. What is this? And finally, this very like over it waitress who's probably been working there for 30 years, she comes out. And I go, hey, can I put my order in? And she's like, we're not taking orders till the chef arrives. It's 9 a.m.
So everyone around is just like, I guess we're waiting.
We're waiting. Right. So I said, oh, I thought you guys opened at 7:30. And she's like, we do. But like, not like, I know this. It's not like, I'm so sorry. Like,
no
it's
acknowledging.
Like, and then like just on that cue, this guy rushes in hungover like you've never seen in your life.
Yeah.
And she starts screaming at him. And he's like, I know. And then she's like, well, I'm going to take the orders. And so I'm like, oh my God, this is so ridiculous, but still, okay, there's only like 7 of us. And he goes, I'm not going to serve any food until I prep the flat iron. So then he starts just laying bacon on the grill because he's going to cook all this bacon just to prep the flat top to cook food. But that bacon, like I was like,
no one's eating that bacon.
Like let us have that bacon. Like, and I just left. And I was just like, it was like the death of a dream of like,
this
I was
place
like,
you kind of romanticized.
Because I also romanticized it because it did look like no one gave a shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
but then
like,
you find out, no one gives a shit.
And it's like, I don't want that. I want them to actually like, and so, so like, it just became this, like every time I'd walk by it, just this like place where I was like,
trauma
screw
flashback.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
It did close eventually. Now it's a Sharky's, which I do frequent.
For nachos on Christmas Eve.
For nachos. So it's all tied together.
Yeah. All right. Well, you are calibrated somewhere between Twain's and Disney World breakfast buffet is McDonald's for breakfast. So we are going to get our final scores.
Final rating.
This is the moment we've been waiting for. It is time to reveal the final score.
Chad, you have to put a number between 0 and 10. If 5 is perfect mediocrity, considering all the aspects, the Ronald McDonald of it all, the PlayPlace of it all, the kiosk of it all, how are you scoring this experience at McDonald's for breakfast?
I think it comes down to experience again. And this is a meal I'll never think about again. I will never consider this meal again.
Yeah.
But I will remember just feeling like Ronald McDonald-land royalty for sure. And I just like...
Which is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity unless you choose to dress up like this sometime.
Yeah, I mean, so then, as you said, it'll only happen now.
Right.
So weighing the food, which, like I said, is nothing that I care to have again, against this sort of like really fun surprise that like we were big shots in this one weird moment, I'm going to... It's definitely better than an average experience.
Yeah.
It's still not epic. So I'm going to go with a 6.25.
6.25. Chad, I am so much below you on this.
You mean as an artist?
I mean, I didn't mean it that way, but I mean, yeah, if we're calling a spade a spade. I think the experience of dressing up is something that every time I do it, it's funnier in concept, and it kind of just weighs down on me when I go to these restaurants and I'm dressed cumbersomely, and it hinders it. And I did like the attention, but also I didn't like the entitlement. The employees didn't have entitlement, but all the customers kind of were like, you owe us this. And the food was nothing to write home about. You know, the service, they were friendly, but I mean, at the end of the day, they were there. And there's nothing sexy about the inside of a McDonald's decor-wise. They do nothing to make you feel welcome. So I'm going 3.18.
Wow.
I would call this not good. Doesn't mean I hated it. It's not like the ones and twos. I'm not going to shit talk.
Not a White Castle situation.
This is not a White Castle situation. This is not a Shoney's situation. But I think a 3.18 is fair and what it deserves, which means when we put your score with my score, McDonald's breakfast goes up on the tchotchke of mediocrity at a 4.72.
Curious to see what that looks like. Oh, so kind of fairly in a wild cluster.
Just below Perkins and Margaritaville.
Oh, wow.
Just above Sarku, Japan, which is like a food court teriyaki chicken place that I love, or grew up loving. Yeah, I don't know. That feels all right. Because I've done the McDonald's from the Grimace Shake, and it was a 4.28.
Okay.
So this is, a half a point above it.
Okay.
It's not the worst.
Yeah.
It's a marked improvement. And I do think that the breakfast is better at McDonald's personally. Like, I would rather go for breakfast than for a lunch or a dinner.
Oh, interesting.
Personally. Yeah.
Yeah. I used to think breakfast was my favorite thing to get at fast food. But then after today, I'm like, maybe that's just an old version of me.
No, I think that might be true. But it to me, it also kind of felt like the bar has dropped a little bit.
Well,
or the offerings have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, so it's under a 5. This means that McDonald's breakfast is officially less than mediocre.
Less than mediocre. Not quite as good as Cracker Barrel.
Chad, because it wasn't the perfect 5.00 out of 10, my search does need to keep going. Usually I reach over and I have a bowl that I pull my next restaurant out of, the You Must bowl. It tells me where I must go. But I'm going to do something a little bit special. And this one actually kind of ties into you. So for my next restaurant, you did a commercial for Monday Night Football. Was it a commercial or
It was a
skit?
commercial parody.
It was like a sketch, right?
Yeah.
Which I thoroughly enjoyed.
Well, thank you.
Was it a
Yeah,
one thing?
it's this thing they do. A guy named Norm Souza and another guy named Jason Palmer, who are comedy folks that work with Fox.
Yeah.
They do them almost every week. There's short form and long form, but they do these things just mostly in the pregame shows. And stuff.
Yeah. Well, the Super Bowl is the Sunday after my next episode. And for the past 2 Super Bowls, I've done Hooters. Year 1, I did just regular Hooters. I went to the one at the Long Beach Pike. Year 2, I did Hoots Wings by Hooters, which is the fast casual concept that basically is Hooters without the Hooters girls to go, essentially. And I want to do a 3rd annual Hooter Bowl. I don't know what other Hooters that I can try. There aren't that many more variants.
Right.
So I'm going to declare this the 3rd and final Hooter Bowl. I'm going to go to Las Vegas and stay at and review the Oyo Hotel and Casino, formerly the Hooters Hotel and Casino.
Gotcha.
They have the only Hooters in the country that serves breakfast. I have heard it's one of the lowest reviewed hotels on the Vegas Strip. So from check-in to check-out, I'm going to stay inside of that building and review that for next 2 weeks episodes. Hooter Bowl 3. Yeah. So I don't know. That feels like a way to top it. And I'll see one of the shows at the hotel and I'll eat dinner and breakfast at that Hooters
You know
restaurant.
what would be brave is if every day you brought back one of these beloved characters. So you're Shrek one day.
I'm only staying one day. What do you mean every day? Do you think I'm doing a 5-day trip?
You do a morning, maybe for breakfast, you're Shrek.
Uh-huh.
Then for lunch, you're Grimace. Then you bring this abomination back.
And Freddy Krueger. Oh, God. I won't be doing any of that because that sounds like I'm already going to be miserable being inside one of the worst reviewed casinos in Vegas.
Yeah. And by the way, to be the worst in Vegas, a place I've spent much time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you have to work pretty hard. I remember going years ago to a place that had dime roulette.
Yeah.
That was like watching people play roulette with dimes.
Yeah.
Is it makes you realize like that there's further to fall always.
Every time I play roulette, it is a dime playing roulette.
Are you saying you're a dime, like you're a 10?
Yeah. Anyways, that'll do it for this week's episode of the Fine Dining Podcast. You can follow Chad on social media if you want to tell people
At
where.
the Chad Damiani on Instagram. All my information is there. I have a link tree that has shows, classes, etc. Also, my podcast, Stand Up and Clown. You can find it on Apple or Spotify. It's not as funny as this. It's actually has value.
Jesus Christ. When I say that you have honed in on all my biggest insecurities, you just hit on one that you didn't even know I had. I'm just like, I'm not adding anything to the world with this.
Yeah. I mean, but by the way, look, not everyone can sort of push civilization forward.
Okay. You can follow me on social media at Fine Dining Podcast on Instagram and TikTok. You can check out my Patreon. That's patreon.com/Fine Dining Podcast for the extended Yelp from Strangers segment and an exclusive episode every single month. We didn't find the most mediocre restaurant in America. The search does, in fact, continue. We'll see you next time. Have a fine day.
The search continues. We still need the perfect five. The search continues. Like and subscribe. The search continues. Our journey did not conclude. The mother effing search continues. Write us an iTunes review.
And hey, while you're at it, why don't you go ahead and make it 5 stars, huh? Come on.
Follow us on TikTok, the same on Instagram, all the socials at Fine Dining Podcast. We have a website, finediningpodcast.com. Buy our t-shirts, then put them on.
And don't forget, you can always suggest where we go next.
Okay, we're going to find it. Mediocrity, the search continues. See you next week.
Hurt my throat a little.
Have a fine day.